Hello friends, I am Amit and today I am going to show you something like this. Okay, so here it is the video, and you see this video is from mid afternoon to evening, and lots things going on like this. The sun when pass behind the trees, it leaves the volumetric light rays, and also the color changing from afternoon to evening, and that is the shadow, and which is by using element 3D version 2 we get the shadow. And okay, so let's begin. um, First we need a composition that is 1280 by 720p and 23.976 and maybe 10 seconds long, and hit OK. So I have to change the color bit per channels from 8 to 32. So you can do this by pressing the alt in the keyboard and click on the bit per channel switch, so it will change from 8 to 16 and then 32. So we need element 3D. So first create a layer, solid, and name it element and hit OK, and choose the element plugin from Video Copilot. Double click on it, and so there is element. So click on the screen setup switch, and first we need a bottom plate, that is the ground, and we found this from the Video Copilot model pack, that is Halloween model pack, and we use that peach model. So we need a little bit bigger, so here is the scale switch, we change it from 100 to 500, and also change the texture repeating values, so changing from the UV repeat value from 1 to 5, as well as the Y value to 5. So that is our ground plane. Now we need a house. So that is also a free model from Video Copilot Metropolitan model pack. So here it is. There is the industrial hall. Click on that. Just oh yes, make sure that the pitch model is set to bottom, and also the house, and that is default alignment is to bottom, so don't need to change that. Put it on top like this, and we also decrease the Y scale value of the pitch layer. So here is the scale switch, and decrease the Y value little bit like this. Okay, back to the industrial hall model. Also drag it down so it not looks floating. So now we need some tree. Here is the tree model. We use the tree model number 1, that is the tree. Double click on it, drag it behind the home or house like this. Also rotate the Y value, that's it. And also duplicate the model by pressing alt in the keyboard and drag whatever axis you need. I change the Z axis, so it will duplicate this side. Also drag the Y axis and scale it down, and scale switch, scale it down and rotate so it look different than the other. And also change the position a little bit here. Okay, now we need another tree, that is the pine tree. Double click on, single click also, click on that and drag behind that position also, and maybe little bit further, and also duplicate that model by pressing alt and click together. Rotate the Y value, and for that pine tree we need to shut off the leaves. And now we need a tank model that is from also Video Copilot. It's a free model, so here is the model tanker. Maybe we need explode one, so just click on that and rotate that like this, drag that and down little bit. Okay, maybe change the position also. Now just scale down like this. Yes, so that is our basic scene, and now we need some rock and grass. So that is our first group, and now use some rock that is from the starter pack physical, that is also a free model pack that comes with the element 3D. I use the rock number 2 and also take it in another group, that is group number 5, and grass. The grass, take it in the group number 4, and already we have our ground plane, so we don't need the grass ground plane. So ground plane, we shut off the switch. Okay, so now back to the After Effects and hit OK. So here is our scene. So first we create a camera, that is a 30mm is good, and hit OK. So position that camera like that, and now put a background. So I use a image, that image I use as a background, and it very nice looking. So just drag it in the composition panel and first make it 3D by pressing the 3D switch, and now push it back to the Z space. So hit P on the keyboard to bring the position value, and just push back little bit, maybe more, maybe 4000 is good, and rotate the Y axis like this, drag it, and also scale up. So press shift and S to bring the scale and as well as the position value together. So on the scale we increase the scale like this. Also rotate by pressing shift R to bring the rotation option, and rotate the Y axis like this. So first thing is, I like to change the camera point of interest value, the Z value of the point of interest, by pressing A on the keyboard. So bring the point of interest, and bring the position of the background plate also. Copy the Z position of that background plane by pressing Ctrl C, or from edit option you can copy the value. So, and also paste that value to the Z value of point of interest of camera. So Ctrl V, paste. So now we need to rotate the camera Y value also. So press R on the keyboard to bring the rotation value of camera and change it to minus 35, looking good. So that way we increase the parallax movement of the different objects, so that feel that there is a more volume in 3D space. But and I also like to put a null object and also make it a 3D switch so it can control the camera. So name it as cam control. And parent the camera with that null object. So if we change the position of the null, so likewise it also change the camera position and helps the animate camera. So get the idea. Okay, so now we need light. So I use a parallel light as a sun, called it as sun, and intensity about 200, and switch the cast shadow button and hit OK. And our background also interact with the light, so by pressing AA on keyboard and off the accept light option to off. And now change the light position, Z value, and bring up, and as well as the Y value, like this. Okay, so now we animate the light from east to west. So just click on the position stopwatch and wait to the 10 seconds and then change the position. Just click on the light and drag it to that way, so it will change the position over time. So now we also need ambient light, so click on layer, new light, the ambient light, intensity about 20. Okay, so we also change the intensity value over time. So click on T on the keyboard. First we click the stopwatch in the intensity, and also going to the 10 seconds, and then down the value because the time it will be night, so to 0, like this. And we also change the sun color, so click on that and light option. Also change the color over time, so click on the color and go up to the 10 second, and the color will be like orangish color. Okay, so that will be the color. So we already set up our light, and now set up the rock and the grasses. So back to the element layer, and we put the rock in group 4, or maybe group 5. Let's see, rock in group 5. Okay, so group 5 we change the particle replicator's shape to plane and increase the particle count maybe 16, and then increase the scale shape also like this, and then particle look, and also scatter them. So in the scatter option we scatter the x value as well as the z value like this, and the particle look we increase the size and also change the particle size randomness, so like this, maybe increase the size little bit more, and then rotate the camera randomly. So here is the randomized angle, it changes the x value, y value as well as the z value, and also scatter them more like this, maybe change the random seed also, and also down the y-axis, down and down the scale value like this. So if you like to see that scene from different angle, so just without disrupt the camera movement, so first we need to create another camera called as temp camera, temp cam, temp cam. So that is where you can see from different side, and now we make little bit management to the grass. So back to the element layer, and we put the grass layer into group 4. So in the particle replicator we also particle replicator shape to plane and increase the amount, and also increase the shape, and also bring the size down, and also the size randomness to 100%, and increase the particle count, and also decrease the shape scale like this, and scatter them also from x-axis scatter as well as the z-axis scatter. We not increase the y-axis scatter because it will look like floating, so don't need to change y-axis. So here it is the scene. So now we have to on the shadow switch. So here is element 3D, going to the option render setting, and here is the shadow option. So enable the shadow switch, also increase the size map to maybe 4K, and into the parallel light option we change the shadow size, maybe like this. So that is our scene for now. Maybe up the sun y values, so position P on the keyboard and increase up the sun a little bit like that. So we also need a camera movement, but first we also turn on the ambient occlusion switch and increase the intensity, and also advanced option we increase the light influence to maybe 150, and the depth option also. so it will not look fake. So now we need some camera movement, so back to the camera control and also start off the temporary camera. So here is our original camera position. So camera control, we press the P on the keyboard to bring the position of the null object and maybe going to a suitable place here, like from here down a little bit, from here to the very end here, like this. You also see there is a high tension tower, so we don't want to see that, so just change the position so we not see that. And also we don't need that cloud, so just duplicate the background plate and bring that here, and we only mask that area, so mask that, and also feather that by F on the keyboard. We bring the feather option of the mask, so just feather that little bit, so that is where we rid of that cloud and also that cloud here. So like this, and also increase the feather option for the second mask like this, so we now not seeing that cloud. So now to we have to switch on the fog option in the element 3D. So here is the fog. Just pick the color from the background and enable the switch, and also change the start distance like this. Also increase the opacity and maybe the color from it. Okay, maybe not. Okay, so yeah, it is our scene. Maybe we also extend the ground plane beyond further, so just here on the pitch model we drag it behind like that and hit OK, so it will extend behind further. Also interact with the fog opacity, change the color also. Okay, so now we need optical flare for the sun. So click on the layer, new solid, call this as optical flare, hit OK, and here is the optics light folder. That sun, that is called evening sun, looking good. Hit OK, and change the source type to track light, and so that is a way it follow the light position. And also change the transform mode to add, and bring the brightness to maybe 50%, and also the scale value to 80%. That is, we see the scene is cut here little bit, but we don't worry about that because we use our letterbox option, so don't need to worry about that. And so now we see when it goes behind the tree, here we need some management to do. So maybe we down the light intensity, so hit T to bring the intensity option to 100%, and also increase that to 100%. Maybe change the light color so it not look so orange, maybe red, like this. So when it pass behind the tree, we use to flicker that light. So in the all optical layer, we turn on the flicker switch just from this time. Flicker from this time to the end. Press U on the keyboard to bring the keyframe options only, and also put the keyframe here. And now we change just after it comes behind the tree, so press page down in the keyboard, so just one frame from that keyframe, so must click on the flicker switch, like speed up to 39, maybe 40, and also the amount, so it will start flickering. And just before it pass behind the trees, press on the page up, so bring that frame, and also keyframe here, maybe increase, and then keyframe to the 0. So now you will see it little bit flickering. Okay, maybe we shut off the sun when it passes the thick trunk of the tree. So here how we do that, by changing the scale keyframe on the scale, and also press U to bring the scale option here, and then page down we change the scale value little bit, maybe 0, and then pass, and again You see the what is the value there, 80, so we make that value also 80. Okay, so now you can see it will go 0 and then 80. So it says that it passed from that trunk. And also here we also do that same thing here. So when it passed behind that tree, so just make a key point here, then 0, and then again back to the 80, and also here also going to the frame by frame, so you can do that more correctly. Here make a keyframe, going to more going another frame, and change the scale value, maybe not totally, maybe 10, and then again 80, so like this. Okay, but when we change the scale value to 0, we lose the sun totally, but we don't need that. So just duplicate the sun layer, maybe I mean the optical flare layer, just Ctrl D, so duplicate that layer and bring it behind beneath the element layer, and just uh, just disable the scale key switch. So now you can see it disappear, but leave the sun rays also, so it look more natural than previous. So here it is, and we also lower the brightness to 50% and 50, so it will not blow the sun so much. And also in the optical flare fast layer, we also lower the brightness to 50. So now it look like this. Maybe we can change the intensity of the sun little bit more, so maybe 150. Okay, get the idea. So now we need some color correction. So first I pre-compose the all layers by pressing Ctrl Shift C, move all the attributes and make adjustment layer. So new adjustment layer. First I put letterbox. So here is the preset from Video Copilot, that is called Animate and Preset, and Film Magic Pro maybe, or maybe Video Copilot, that is the maybe the aspect ratio option. I use the 1.85 aspect ratio option, so double click on that and just change the change the aspect ratio to 2.5. So now it look like that cinematic scope. So, and you also not see that area. So now make another adjustment layer and bring it a tint, and also curve, part the memory so it will run faster. So when we lose the light, we also lose the color information. So maybe desaturate the color at the very end. So desaturate it by 65 and, bring the saturation maybe 16 at the very beginning, and also change the colors, bring down the red and bring up the bluish tint like this. So and now put another adjustment layer, and in this layer I use preset a third-party plugin for color correction, that is Magic Bullet Mojo. So here is the Mojo, and bring the warm yellow and also the Mojo tint little bit. So now while I going to the very end, it looks warm, so we also need to warm it little bit, so like this. And at the very beginning we don't want that much of warm color, so decrease that like this. Maybe we decrease the fog values so it will look good. So back in the element option and change the fog distance. Okay, something like that. Back to the color correction layer. Now we need another adjustment layer, bring beneath the first adjustment layer, that is aspect ratio, and going to another third-party plugin for color correction, that is Magic Bullet Look. So here is Magic Bullet Look, and wait. So here is the Magic Bullet Look. I use the preset that is called Zombie and finish that. So at the very beginning we don't need that color correction, color preset. So just press T on the keyboard and bring down the opacity to maybe um, 30%, and at the very end just increase the value like this. So you can see when the light source goes down, we also lose all the color from the scene like this. And we not see the sun properly, so change the scale value of the sun. mm, Maybe down the color of the background, so let's put an adjustment layer beneath the optical flare layer, and also change the saturation of the background layer over time. So here is the tint option from color correction, click on the stopwatch, move down the saturation, and at the very end we also change that like this, and also decrease the curve, change maybe the alpha, based on the stopwatch, and at the very beginning we reset that. So that way it will change the background color also over time. So back to the color correction layer, the final output something like this. So the last thing is the volumetric light trace. So that is very easy to do. One yes, very easy to do. That is we just need adjustment layer. In this layer I use the inbuilt plugin that is called CC Light Race. That is the inbuilt plugin, and change the center from here, also keyframe the center, and in the very end of the sun position that remains behind the tree. And now that is we get the volumetric light race, but we need little bit of correction, so bring down the intensity little bit, and from round to square, the shape from round to square, maybe down the radius also, intensity down also, maybe up the radius like this. So let's see what it looks in the final color correction layer. Now you can see the volumetric light is coming, and maybe we should do that when it pass through that trees also. So let's animate the center to here, and also here also. But when it not follow the sun, we need to change the intensity. So here we click on the intensity to 0, and when the sun comes here, we turn on the intensity back again. So click U on that to bring the keyframe options only. So switch on the intensity and back to maybe that is remain 0, and just one frame forward we increase that to 40. So when it comes behind the tree, the volumetric light rays start to show and remains on, and when it pass the tree, we shut off the intensity back to 0. So That is how we get that. And again here also put a keyframe, forward one frame, then maybe 30, and also, and again put a keyframe and again make it 0. Likewise here also put a keyframe, forward one frame, then maybe 20%, and again one frame, back to 0. So now we get that. Now in the final color correction layer, we maybe the look effect, we change the opacity maybe 10 or so, and at the very end also change that to maybe 60%. So that is the final. So you see the volumetric light rays and the color changing from afternoon to evening. Okay, thanks for watching, and please subscribe my channel for more videos like this, and we will see again. Thank you.